I need chalk. No. Hello, Animorphs fans, and welcome back to... Hello, Animorphs fans, and welcome back to the Animorphs... I do need... Hello, Animorphs fans, and welcome back to the Animorphs universe. Today we're on a wonderful adventure. Lila's just opened the door, and now there's glare, so... Thank you, Lila, silly cat. Anyway, what a wonderful day to talk about the best moments of one particular character. The one who I've just put the Transformers model up for. So who's this, everybody? Don't you just love the Transformers figures? It's our boy Marco. We've already done Marco's worst moments, and there were quite a few. So how did we do on the best moments? Now, disclaimer, of course. Lila leaving the door again, a bit more glare. Disclaimer, these are my opinions. So if you don't like them, you can have your own. Take your own. Shawn Ashmore's got his own opinions. Here he comes. Maybe I'll have Shawn Ashmore join me on this. He's going to have to go to the attic soon, I'm afraid to say. Sorry, Shawn. Unless somebody wants to buy him off me, you're more than welcome to buy... Because... Right, here's a little thing for you, right? I'm not going to give you the full news yet, but there's going to have to be some changes around here. Okay? Which means my house is going to have basically a gutting. You know, I need to make space. And so, Shawn, as much as I love and appreciate you, man, at least your cardboard cutout, I probably love and appreciate the real you even more, but even the cardboard cutout of you, I'll probably fold it, unless somebody offers to buy them off me. I don't know, 20 quid. If you would generally pay 20 quid to get Shawn Ashmore off my hands, maybe with a little smiley face drawn on or something like that, I don't know, then yeah. Otherwise, he's probably going to end up in the attic, gathering dust. And then he'll probably make a cameo appearance several years down the line. Who knows? But Shawn, you can stay with me for this time. In fact, no. When we eventually get around to doing Jake's best moments, then you can rejoin us. I'm delaying the video for long enough, aren't I? I should really get cracking with it, okay? So we're talking about Marco's best moments. How did he do throughout the series? He had a lot of worst moments, but I think there were plenty of nominations for his top 5 best moments. So I have got top 5 best moments. I've also got 3 honorary mentions that we will get to. But let's start with number 5, okay? Number 5 comes from, if you just bear with me, this book here, Visser. And it is the moment where Marco finally is able to talk to his own mother, Eva. It is a very touching moment, and also it allows Marco to show his serious, more sentimental side. Because most of what we see from Marco is his "hey the lads" side, or his "let's just freaking get it over with" side. We don't very often get to see his family. Well, we do with his dad. His family side. He's very sensitive about his family because he's a Slytherin. Okay, so pretty much his whole thing is his family. Other than that, you know, it's what gets us from A to B quickest. Until it comes to his family, then that's very important. So that makes it even more effective when he finally has the chance to free his mother, because the Animorphs have bombarded away into the Yurt Pool while this trial is going on between Visser 1 and Visser 3 in front of the Council of 13, and they're able to take Visser 1 away, Eva, and her controller Yerk thing, Idris, and they take her to a little cave on the side of the Yurt Pool, and Eric puts a force field around Hologram so that they can be undisturbed. And Marco is the one put in front of Idris and her host, saying, "You better crawl out of my mum's ear, or else we're going to knock your block off, Sonny Jim." And he's very forceful, but eventually it's agreed, and Idris comes out of Eva's ear, and Marco is holding this, I believe it was Marco, holding Idris in his hands. And he shows incredible restraint. Incredible restraint, because he's got his mother there, free. And he even says to her, I could take you away now. We could take you somewhere safe. We've got allies. We've got money. We can keep you safe. But Marco's restraint comes from knowing that it's better to operate with the enemy you know. And the Yeerks currently are going through this slow infiltration into Earth, and Marco realises this, and he thinks, okay, so if that weren't happening anymore, Visser 3 would be in charge, and it would be all-out war, and we do not know how that will go. At the moment, we're doing all right with this slow infiltration. We're making progress. So it sort of is in Marco's character to say what is the best solution, and he does find that best solution, but he's also emotionally affected by this best solution, because he has to show incredible patience to say, alright Mom, I will save you, but it can't be now. And he gets very tearful, it's very emotional, but eventually Marco says, here's your yurt back, here's your host body back, Idris, and sends them on their way again, knowing that it's probably for the best, but he'll have an opportunity later on in the future, and he vows to take out Idris and finally save his mother, which eventually, spoiler alert, he does. It's just a shame that the whole Idris storyline came to a really rubbish conclusion, but that's not this book's fault. That's not this moment's fault. So yeah, number 5 on this list, Marco talks to Eva, but allows her to get sucked back into the Yeerk thing, vowing later on to finally save her. I thought it was a great moment, so it's number 5 on this list. What's number 4? This is one of the funnier moments for Marco. Of course, there had to be a funny gorilla moment for Marco. And it comes from an underrated book, Book 28. That's one of your favourites, isn't it, Cut Out Shawn Ashmore? And the moment in particular is where Marco is driving this truck. He's driving this truck, and he's halfway morphed into gorilla. So it's just the big gorilla sitting in the front, because he can't reach the pedals otherwise. So he's driving this truck as a gorilla, and he's donned like a pair of Levi's and the old driver's jacket, so it's just this gorilla in this driver's uniform. And then when they go to, is it the slaughterhouse they're going to? I believe it's the slaughterhouse. It's either that or the labs. It's one of the two. But they drive up to this gate, and this guy looks in like, what are you doing driving like a maniac? And Marco's just demorphed enough so that he just looks like a really big hairy bloke. He's like, oh, shut up, mate. Something along those lines. But I just thought it was a really humorous and well thought out moment. It's one of those typical Animorphs moments where you have to have a good chuckle and you just don't really forget it. So Marco as a gorilla in Levi's driving a truck. Also, by the way, it does also incorporate the Marco driving trope, so that's extra bonus points. But that is number 4 on my list. Number 2 and 3 are both from the same book, and so special mention to Animorphs Book 5, The Predator. Should I get the American version out instead? There you go, the one with the multiple covers. So this one here, Book 5, is a fantastic book, one of the best books of the series. And of course, it therefore has some great Marco moments. His first narration, and the very first action he does, and this is number 3 on my list, the first time we're properly introduced to Marco is where he saves the old man from the thugs. This moment was fantastic. Now I will say that, sort of spoiler alert, the top 3 in this list for me are all moments where Marco puts aside his slithering tendencies and shows his dedication to people around him, shows how he cares for and looks out for the people around him. And so this is the first one of the 3, at number 3 on the list, where he sees an old man that he doesn't know in this alleyway. He's walking back with, I think it was like M&Ms or something like that. He's walking back home from the store, and he sees that this old man is being threatened by these thugs. They're saying, "Give us your money." And so Marco morphs gorilla, goes in there risking his own life for this complete stranger, and kicks the asses of these punks in the alleyway. The old man eventually threatens him at the end. God, gets the gun out. This was done pretty well in Chris Grind's latest graphic novel. But it was Marco putting himself in danger for the life of somebody who didn't even know that he was being saved. And it was just a brilliant character moment. Put aside the usual Marco stuff where he looks out for himself, which to be honest most of the time he's doing. He looks after himself, or by extension his family. But he does have these moments where he shows that he truly can be empathetic. He isn't a sociopath, okay? And for whatever reason, Michael Grant said he was a few years ago, but I'm starting to think that maybe Michael Grant was being a bit loose with the word. I mean, we all do it, so fair enough. I think he meant sociopathic tendencies, which is just... It's weird to me how that works, but... Marco shows that he can care for people who aren't in his immediate thing. Okay, that's basically why this is in my thing. And it was just a brilliant action sequence. And it's a great introduction to Marco's character. So that's why that one is number 3 on my list. Number 2 is from the same book, of course. Book 5, and it's a bit further along. And it is similar in a way. So they've just done the whole ant thing. You remember the whole ant thing? They're all exhausted. The next day, walking around like zombies. And Rachel and Marco are in the cafeteria. And this girl called Jessica comes and waddles up to them and starts saying, "Oi, Rachel, what the fuck do you think you're doing?" Rachel's not down for it at all. So it turns into a fight. So Rachel gives it a bit of 1-2. And Jessica gives it a bit of that. And it's Marco who gets up and gets between them. Right? Gets up between them and says, "Whoa, hey. And for his troubles, he gets a wallop in the face. Again, it's Marco showing his self-sacrificial side, which doesn't often rear its head, but it does. Multiple times in this book, and I think it's a great showcase of his ability to do so. "I saw Jake across the room, too far away to intervene. Cassie was with him. It was up to me. I jumped up and raced to Rachel. I took a deep breath and shoved both my arms between them. 'Back off, Marco,' Rachel said. 'Get her off me, she's crazy,' Jessica cried. I pushed myself against Rachel, trying to force her off Jessica. Suddenly, Jessica started lashing out. I assumed she was trying to hit Rachel. She missed. Ow! I grabbed my left eye. 'What are you hitting me for?' And that's when the first teacher showed up. Now, unfortunately, as much as I praise Chris Grime for his latest graphic novel, he did ruin this scene. I'm sorry, Chris, if you ever watched this. Great graphic novel, but you ruined this scene. Because here he's not just jumping in saying, whoa, get back. He jumps in with the whole, there's plenty of me going around trying to, schwooze his way in. And that ruins it because he basically repeats that joke later, robbing it of its effectiveness in the right moment. So yeah, Chris, bad boy. What makes it effective is the part that Chris basically ruined, where they're now in Chapman's office and they're all there sitting between, they've got Marco's got a black eye, and he figures out the best way to get out of it. And that is by saying, "Chapman, they were fighting over me. They would just love me so much, it just diffuses the whole situation. They get out of it." And it just employed every single aspect of Marco's character to such a beautiful point. It just sums him up in one, 2-part scene. And it was fantastic. It is one of the most underrated scenes in the whole of Animorphs, the Jessica bit, I think. "It's my fault, Mr. Chapman," I said. "Your fault?" His eyes narrowed. "Yes, sir. They were fighting over me. See, they both want me. They're both madly in love with me. And I can certainly understand why, can't you?" "Are you crazy, you little toad?" Jessica shrieked. But when I glanced over at Rachel, I just saw the slightest little tugging at the corner of her mouth, the beginnings of a smile. Chapman yelled at us for a few minutes and told us all to make appointments with the school counsellor. Then he let us go. In the hallway outside his office, Rachel walked with me. "I wish I could do that," she said. "What?" "Always think things are funny. It's why you're so, cool and in control." "Me, cool and in control?" The idea surprised me. Rachel thought I was in control. It's brilliant. It is absolutely fantastic. And that is why it's at number 2 on my list. Before we get to number 1, let's talk about the honourable mentions. Sean. Honourable mentions! There's 3. So the first one is when he kills Visser Thought in Megamorphs 3. It's just a great summation of that side of his character, his A to B way of thinking, his Slytherin way of thinking, where they're arguing over, they defeated Visser Thor, And they've got him out of John Berryman's head, so they've got this Yerk slug in their hands. You know, they're still in the World War II scenario, alternative universe bit. And they're just passing around the slug saying, what do we do? What do we do? And Marco just grabs him and just chucks him into the fire and says, right, we're done now, right? Let's just do what we need to do. Let's get back to where we need to be. He just... Stop it. Stop messing around. And it's almost a very leadership-like thing he's got going on there. Just stop messing around, everybody. Let's do what we need to do. And why they chose Rachel to be the leader in book 37 is beyond me. Sorry, I just have to bring 37 in. Can we throw 37 on the floor again? Yeah, let's do it. Why not? Sean? Yeah? Happy with that? Cool. Getting the crystal to Eric in book 10. This was a great moment for Marco because it showed his ability to chase his goal even when things are at their bleakest. So the Animorphs are in this big room and there's a big bunch of Hawk-Bajir just battling them. And they've got the Pemalite crystal. Marco's got the Pemalite crystal in his hand, his gorilla hand, his fist. And his job is just to get from his side of the room to the other side of the room where he sees Eric through the glass pane. But he's got all these Hawk-Bajir jumping him, and he's at death's door by the time he reaches this window because he's just pushing his way through constantly. Gotta get to that window. Pure determination, gorilla strength. And he gets to it and just smashes his hand through the glass, and it's that last effort that saves everybody. Well, it allows Eric to save everybody, so indirectly it does save everybody. So that was a great moment of persistence, determination, and just sticking to your goal. A great moment for Marco. And the final honourable mention is sort of in two parts, and it comes from book 4. So Cassie goes up to Marco's apartment. She starts apologising to Marco for getting him into a bit of a kerfuffle where, you know, his dolphin morph got a bit torn up. But Marco says, why? Why are you apologising to me? I mean, I agreed to go on this mission, so why are you apologising to me for coming to the consequences of my actions? That's part one of why this is a great moment. He says, don't bother apologising. We all agreed to do it, so there's no need to apologise, Cassie. Stop it. Put a sock in it. That was great. But then you combine it with a moment later where they go for the next part of this mission. They're on the side of the ship. And Cassie starts having this little moment of, oh, I don't know, you put me in charge of this and I don't think I should do it because I'll be putting everyone at risk. It'll be a wasted mission. And Marco, again, just says, Cassie, shut up. And he starts morphing, forcing the team to go on ahead of the mission despite Cassie's whirring head thing going on. So it's a bit of a two-parter, that one. I thought it was a great couple of moments that sort of ran in parallel of Marco basically saying, Cassie, chill out, we're okay, let's carry on. And I thought that was just brilliant character development for Marco as a character. So what is Marco's greatest moment, in my opinion? Similar to the previous two, numbers 2 and 3, it shows him looking out for the people around him. And I think the best example of it comes in this book, book 31, The Conspiracy. Why? What happens in this book to warrant being number 1 on my list? In the previous book, Jake had told Marco that he was too close to his mother to make the vital decisions. Fast forward to this book, book 31, and that is brought up again because this time it is Jake's family that are the centre of attention here. And Marco says to Jake, whoa, take a step back. And that results eventually in an argument between the two. At which point Jake refuses to let it drop. And he refuses a handshake from Marco to say, we're okay. Jake's father is now in danger of being murdered by the Yerks because he's trying to force Tom, a high-ranking controller, to go out into the woods where he can't get Kandrona and would undoubtedly survive. So Tom, as a high-ranking Yerk, is trying to organise to get the dad taken out by accident, so that looks like an accident, so that he can get away with it and carry on with his Yerkly activities. But there's one more thing that nobody's talking about, Tobias continued, stretching and refolding his wings. I think we've been sitting on the wrong path all this time, sitting around waiting for the Yeerks to attack, then saving Jake's father again and again is no plan. The Yeerks may think it was a coincidence at the mall, maybe a coincidence on the lawn, but they can count, you know. Sooner or later they'll think that's too many coincidences. Exactly, Marco said. So why don't we get off the defensive? Do something. Something big that'll distract their attention away from Jake's father until he and Tom and Jake can leave for the cabin tomorrow morning. Marco hesitated. He knew the vote had gone against him. At worst he had Cassie on his side. That was 2 against 3, leaving Axe out. Finally, Marco nodded. Okay, we go on this offensive. He tried a semblance of his usual humour. I always wanted to die kicking and screaming. He stepped toward me. He held out his hand. Nothing personal, Jake. I was just looking out for the group. I left his hand hanging in midair. After a while, he withdrew it. So what's the plan? Cassie said, trying to break the hostility of the moment. Maybe we could think about, Marco began. I have a plan, I said. That is the sign of disrespect. Letting in a serious situation, letting somebody hang with a handshake is serious disrespect. That is just... I can't think of many situations where I would do that. It would have to be a very, very serious disrespect for me to not shake somebody's hand that was being offered. So Marco has just been majorly disrespected by Jake, who is basically being a bit of a hypocrite on what he and Marco talked about in the previous book. So Marco has extra reason to be absolutely pissed at Jake. But you know what? Even though he's a bit of a Slytherin, and even though he mostly looks out for himself, Jake is his best friend. And he doesn't let that best friend tag simply fall away into dust. He doesn't let it fall asunder. Because it was his plan at the end of the book, specifically his plan, that saved Jake, saved Tom, and saved Jake's father. He forgave Jake for the major disrespect laid at his feet. And when the time came down to it, he came up with a plan that got Jake out of the hole that he'd dug himself into. That's a major character positive in my book. That ability to forgive somebody who has disrespected you, to put that personal stuff aside and just say, what is the best thing for us? It's the best part of Marco's character, his A to B thing. A lot of times it can be very negative, you know, putting aside individuals for where we need to go, but sometimes it works in the favour of the individual as well. The greater good was putting aside his own grievances and Jake's and saying, we need to work together. So I don't care what I'm thinking about this time. I don't care about the fact that I've been disrespected. We need to do this. So it really works. It becomes very helpful, his A to B Slytherin mindset, and he forges ahead with the plan. And the plan is to make it look like an accident that just before Tom stabs his father in the back, the pier beneath them at Grandpa G's cabin collapses into the water and he breaks his leg and has to get helivaced out back to the hospital, where his Yeerk is saved, so henceforth Tom is saved, and also so is Steve Berenson, their father. I thought it was a brilliant bit of writing from a brilliant book, and it showed Marco in the best light he's probably been shown in the whole series. That ability to forgive, to back up his best mate, even when his best mate does something patently silly. That, I think, is a brilliant character trait. Don't you agree, Sean Ashmore? It's also one of the only times where the fact that Jake and Marco being best friends actually plays a part in the series, because they were always best mates, but it was always just sort of mentioned. This was the time where it really came through. So, Marco, brilliant moments. You are a brilliant character despite your many flaws, because we have done the worst of Marco video, and I will link that at the end of this one, just so you can get the full whack of Marco's character range. But I think, Marco, some great moments throughout the Animorphs series. So what are your opinions? Tell me in the comments below what your favourite Marco moments are. And next time we will be doing a 5 worst moments for character TBD. I don't know who it's going to be yet, but that'll be sometime in the new year. So thank you very much for watching, and tune in for that one, and tune into my other videos as well. You tune in too, Sean. Like and subscribe for the sake of Sean Ashmore here, so that he doesn't have to go live in the attic. Okay, that's the deal. If I get enough likes and subscriptions, you don't go back to the attic. Okay? See you somewhere else in the Animorphs universe. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.